Hey everybody, and welcome to A Point of Inspiration. Tonight we will be taking our first dive into a new book that I'm working on, Knights of the Lamb. Right now it is set to be a 5-part adventure, either ran as single scenarios or a mini campaign with 5 sessions. Confusingly enough, I ended up with the 2 darkest people imaginable to play a kid's game. And I'll let them introduce themselves. Ben?
I wouldn't say I'm dark, I'm just, ambivalently light. Hello, I'm Ben. I don't have a channel. I play games. Occasionally I think about running them, but it never happens because schedule. I don't have, I generally create awesome, and now I'm here. Hello.
Oh my goodness. And you know what, the time thing is like, I'm throwing that out the door, because every time I run a game, the first person to say I'll play is Ben.
You happen to find the few times I'm actually free.
It's like the perfect timing, because every time I want to play, Ben's like...
Yeah, you don't know. Every time Ben is like, I would, but damn it.
And then we've got Nelson over here.
But yes, hello, I am Nelson, if you don't know me. I'm not all that dark. I'm just pleasantly tanned. But I am, the crazy mind behind Infinite Roleplay and the writer, illustrator, and designer of Saturday Morning Tabletop, and probably the guy you see ranting his face off everywhere at any given point in time related to RPGs. So, hi.
All right. So the premise of this, if anybody's curious, is they will be playing teddy bears. The race is unreleased, so they're kind of getting a sneak peek at it. What was like you guys' feeling making that race? Was there anything missing or something you would add, or?
You say that, and before you went live, I did say that I thought you were doing an entire little rule set rather than just a race. So yes, I do feel like there was things that might have been missing, because initially I expected like a whole kit, like this is how you play the game. These are the things. I didn't realize that it was just a race.
Yeah.
It's a cute race, but
An adventure book. The race just goes along with the adventure book.
I think I'd recommend something, just because if it's currently padded along with 5e, is a selection of backgrounds, specifically catered to the race. But other than that, I didn't see anything that popped out of my brain and no, this is wrong.
All right, that sounds like a good idea. All right, without further ado, let us dim the lights and enter into the storybook. All right, Ben, your character, what is his name?
Theodore Snuggleton III.
Theodore Snuggleton III. You are in this cocoon almost. It feels warm and plush, but everything's dark. There's silence all around you. It's comfortable. And you feel like you've been floating in this state of mind for years. And suddenly, this small and joyful giggling comes to your ears. It makes you feel your physical body rise. You feel this almost water, as if you're rising up through water, being pulled by like an intangible thread. And it weighs on you, but that giggling just keeps drawing you closer and closer and closer. You enter this room, not by a door, not by a passage, but rising out of a well. You are a knight of the lambs, and as such, your soul rests in the well when you are not currently being of service. You can have flashes and glimpses of your past lives. Do you have any of that as you come back to consciousness?
I remember not one but two lives. Maybe little battles here and there, but I remember being loved and held by one other. But his love faded. But I knew that the family was the same when I awoke for the second time. And again, as time faded, his love faded. And now this third time, it feels different. It feels warmer.
Do you have any feeling? Because you would have this feeling. You are born back into this world knowing the child you're going to belong to.
Immense pride.
Okay. Nelson, your trip was actually kind of short and confusing. You see, your teddy bear had quite the curious story, and it was loved, but not by a human soul at first. Do you want to tell us about those memories as you rise from the well?
Yeah, I think first, before there's any light, you would just hear like the rattling of the chains, or more like one really thick, heavy chain, heavy deep breathing, followed by and maybe a flash of being tossed into the air, seeing the open sky above, the trees, falling leaves in the autumn, and on his way down, just the maw of a large puppy. As initially, his memories bring him back to when he was his child was that of a puppy dog, and he didn't last too long since puppies play rough. But as he's rising from the well, it's more to the sight of the clouded vision of a younger human child. She looks like she has something in her hand that's rising and falling in the direction of the teddy bear, who's being stitched together by this young girl. You can hear the faint voice of a mother in the background. I don't even know why you pick up those things. No, Mommy, I'm gonna fix it. As she pulls the thread tight, biting down, breaking it. She lifts it up and he sees the young girl's face in clear vision. I'm gonna call you Chewy. Chewy McStuffins.
You see, both of you kind of feel and see these things as you rise from the well. It's almost begins to ebb away by this white fog at the creases of your vision. And you know you were just getting a glimpse of where you're supposed to go. When your eyes clear, you're standing in a familiar place. You, being a Knight of the Lamb, know that you're in the Spire, specifically at the Well of Souls. And the room you're in is this white stone with gray streaks running wildly throughout it. It's shaped in this round formation with pillars going up the sides. When you look upwards, there's no ceiling, but instead that same white fog, as if you're in a dream and it hasn't finished filling in all the pieces. At the apex of this room, as it kind of funnels your vision forward, you can't help but focus on this large wooden door. And it's a dark walnut stain with golden pins and strappings going across it, and a large circular hook knob. It seems to just kind of sway in and out. It doesn't lock or anything like that. You have woken up together in the well, and you know that you must travel down the spire to the portal to reach your children.
I think Chewie sort of sits up, like shoots his gaze left and right really quickly, spins around, grabs a piece of loose thread holding his arm and strings it tight. Sees his friend and just waves. Hey!
There's a long, slow moment where he also takes a look around and stretches up, and as Chewie turns towards him and waves, there's a brief flicker of a smile. Pushes up with what feels like to be the weight of ages on him, but he's still a new man in spite of that, or a new bear. Looks around him. Well, here we go again. Theodore offers a paw.
Hey, I'm Chewie. Chewie, and he like puffs up his little bare chest. Chewie McStuffins.
Look, Snuggleton. The third, yes. Joey, that I think they're waiting.
Okay, third, let's go. And he starts running to
Please.
just go down the spire.
Please call me Teddy.
You open the door, and you're at the very top of the spire, and this is a realm meant for the knights. It's kind of this pocket world almost that lies within a dream, and it's a huge building, and it encompasses rooms after rooms and spiral staircases, libraries, and places of relaxation and repairs. And as you step out the door, you will notice immediately as you come to one of these outcasing balconies that, leads to the stairways that travel downward, that something doesn't seem right. There isn't the usual laughter and voices kind of just coming from all over. Teddies and Knights of the Lamb talking amongst themselves. It's quiet. Too quiet.
I'm beating you in the race. And then he pauses. Wait a minute. Did I just hear echo? I heard an echo. Did you hear an echo? Did you hear that? I forgot. I went too far. Hey.
This is too quiet. Echoes down the. I hear you. And the speed sort of picks up, and Teddy's still looking around. Something doesn't seem right. This is different.
It's quiet. It's quiet. It's really quiet. I'm not used to quiet. Why is it so quiet? It's not supposed to be quiet.
It's not supposed to be quiet, no. And he kind of keeps walking, like now the age seems to have disappeared from him. It's like it was just a veneer of age. Now it's just like, no, go.
Do you guys start to descend from this level? Okay. As you start to descend, you notice that the steps are on the outside of the building. And there's these large open balconies with this kind of similar stone as to what you woke up into, that marble, encases the whole building. It's pristine. There's these gold metal caps on each railing as you descend. And there are golden strips inlaid into each step, encased by that dark walnut wood. It's regal and dreamy, and something catches your attention. Every time you take a step down, it squeaks. the wood groaning. But the thing is, in the spire, nothing ages. Nothing deteriorates. Nothing gets old and squeaky. And as you come down onto the next level, you see, or rather hear, around the corner, this clank of metal.
Third. There's a. Listen. It's not supposed to do that, right? It doesn't do that. It doesn't do that. You look like you've been here longer than me. I haven't been here too long. Does it do that? Oh, what?
Do you hear that? The clank, the metal. Shh. Follow me. Go quietly further down the stairs to investigate this noise.
Do me a favor and roll me a d6 and let me know what you get. Both of you, sorry. Five and... Ben, what was yours? Oh, 5. Okay. As you kind of go forward, you realize that you can't see past anything because there's this hill of broken furniture stacked up on the balcony in front of the next staircase. And it seems that somebody on the other side is still throwing things into the pile, but you can't see them.
This is not right. Like, and he puts his paws really close together, and he's like he's looking down the sights of one paw, getting ready for something.
You hear another thud of heavy metal hitting wood on the other side. Pieces start to fall down the stairway as it overflows.
Kind of hurry down to where the door is, realizing very rapidly what's happening, that something's trying to get through. Pick up the speed and see all this furniture that's just piled up.
So this furniture is piled up in front of the door, right?
No, sorry. In front of the staircase leading down. It's blocking your path from going anywhere past the first turn of the outer balcony.
Okay.
So all the staircases are on the outside of the building, spiraling on the outside. Every time you take a staircase down, you go to the next side of the building, right?
And the furniture is falling down the staircase.
Yeah, so it's basically piled up so much that it's now falling down, and there's somebody on the other side of the walkway. Like, if you can imagine a stairway that's on the right side, and there's a hall on the left side on this outside balcony. It's overflowing into the stairs now.
All right, so I think Chewie sort of takes position, and he starts separating his paws, and as he does so, there seems to be like made of a bit of sparkly light and like little sparkle sprinkles falling down and little stars as he draws back what looks to be like a slingshot, and he's aiming right at the pile of stuff, and he looks at Snuggleton. Yeah, no. We wait. Who's there? Should we do it? Yeah, no. Oh, okay.
So you're hitting it with a slingshot?
I think Snuggles like
not.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, wait, nod.
Yeah.
So you are hitting it with the slingshot? Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, he was waiting for Snuggleton's okay, and then, you know.
Okay, well, hit it with a slingshot. Like, what kind of damage would a slingshot do here?
Actually, it's a reflavored for the purpose of this game, Eldritch Blast.
Okay.
And it would deal 1d10 plus 3, and I could knock back the pile of furniture up to 10 feet backwards.
Okay. Go for it.
All right, so you want me to roll?
Does it auto hit?
No, it's an attack roll, but I'm attacking a pile of furniture.
Okay,
so
I guess the furniture has disadvantage since it can't move.
All right. So, what is that, 15?
Oh, yeah, you're totally going to hit this thing. Yeah. It's a pile of furniture. You can't miss.
Well, you made me roll, which made me think I could.
It could have misfired. You don't know.
Yeah. So, Chewie fires his slingshot at the furniture, which oddly enough, the projectile looks like a tennis, like a chewed up tennis ball. As it hits and explodes into the pile of furniture, dealing 6 points of damage and knocking it back 10 feet. Okay,
so what happens is in the center of this, in like the center of the aisle, where the aisle would be, this furniture is just shoved and kind of splinters and breaks in different pieces and shoves forward, creating this hole. And on the other side, you hear, "What's this here? What are you doing?"
Well, it was in the way.
You see this elderly man, and you know him fondly as the Old Man. He has no name. He has no purpose other than to guide your souls into the well and out. He kind of floats, his feet never really touching the ground, and his hands are on pieces of broken furniture peeking around at you. And he says, "Oh, it's just you two. Good. You see, we're under attack."
I think when he first looks around, Chewie has his paws behind his back with like this oversized slingshot obviously being visible from even behind him, and he's trying to look conspicuously inconspicuous. Huh? Wait. Attack. We're under attack. Third. Oh, man.
Who? What? You know what? There's no time to explain it. Shall we?
He kind of steps from behind the rubble, and he glances down the stairway, and he says, I was trying to block them off. I was trying to keep them from getting to the wells, thinking maybe more souls could be called to save us, but you're the only two that came."
Oh, that's not good.
And as far as the who, the what, and the how, well, darkness. Darkness is here. I don't know how he did it, and I don't think we'll ever really know how, but he's trying to collapse the portal.
Yeah, when the old man sort of says that, the little eye on his left side kind of pops out and just slinks down on like a single piece of thread. As you know, Chewie just he tugs on that thread in his chest, you know, pulling the eye back up. We got this, right there, Theoton. We got this, right, buddy?
I guess we do, man. As Teddy starts to walk forward, he kind of just looks at the old man, nods, looks back, nods, seems to reach out of nowhere, and you're not sure where it comes from. It seems to form from here, from his chest outwards. but in his hands, he suddenly seems to pull a big two-handed axe that's almost as big as he is. I just like, good to see you again, old friend. You were saying.
Go ahead. Were you done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The old man snaps his fingers, and just like that, the pile of broken furniture disappears. The stairway leading to the next level opens up, and he kind of peeks over the railing and looks down, and he says, well, I'm not going down there, but you're more than welcome. Go ahead. And if you need me, and he taps his head, just call. Do you guys have any questions or interactions for him before you go on?
I think he's pretty much said what there is need to say. I think just call is obviously some sort of mental help thing. So it's, I guess there's only one way to go, but down?
Down you go.
Yeah, let's go down. Let's go. I'm not scared. No matter what happens, I know Miranda will put me back together again. Come on, let's go. And he just starts recklessly running down the stairs.
Teddy will keep up as best as he can.
Okay. You come down to the next landing, and you immediately know why you heard metal, and it wasn't actually from the old man. On this lower level, just ahead of you, there are other knights currently engaged in battle, and you see, to your horror, that it's true. Forces of darkness are in the spire, and the ones you see before you is a little swarm of chompers. You know these little fiends to be horrid creatures. They're no more than the size of a puppy, but they have rows and rows of hundreds of teeth, and they target children specifically, chomping at their ankles and leaving bites that ooze and infect. And currently in front of you, there's at least a dozen of them and only 2 knights. You can choose to help them or go down another level.
I think without without hesitation, he stops, rolls down, and stumbles down a couple of stairs, and shoots back up. And as he does, you already see him with his little slingshot taking aim at that level with those chompers. You're not doggies. And I'm choosing to help these 2 knights on this level.
Okay.
Teddy, seeing the younger bear take aim, as it were, just kind of changes his tack, drops a shoulder, and is aiming for just about the top of that stairwell, because it's like, okay, so if I jump about now, and he's pretty much planning to introduce himself to helping the knights in the most dramatic fashion possible.
Okay, let's start with that. And we're not going to roll initiative, but we're just going to start with that because it sounds awesome. Grand entrance. Roll your attacks or whatnots.
Quiet.
Yeah, look is on my, because math, it's early. I rolled a 22 in total.
Oh, wow.
I rolled good. Okay.
Is that the hit or damage?
That's the hit.
Okay. Well, you definitely hit.
It's only to hit. Don't worry. There's still plenty of time to completely fluff the damage roll yet. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. and I do a grand total of 10 damage.
To 1?
To 1.
Okay. So as you come down, right? And this is I'm gonna say this one because I have like this really cool idea in my head. As you kind of just jump and land with your axe coming down, it just kind of punts this one chomper off the side of the balcony as it flies over, and kind of like you see kind of like these dark fissures of smoke coming out of it, and you just hear this as it goes flying over the side of the rail. The two knights on either side of you look over, and you see one is this kind of rugged-looking regal bear. He's dressed in a full knight's regalia, and has complete with the kind of red fringe on top, and shining metal armor, and a great sword in his hand, and he's just kind of cleaving at these chompers, flinging them in one way or another. Sending another 2 off the side. Nelson, what does your character do?
Oh, he's letting his slingshot go.
Okay.
So my total is 18 for the attack roll.
Oh yeah, you hit.
And I deal 8 force damage, and knock them back. If possible, I want to knock them off of the balcony.
Okay, where exactly are you aiming? Like, just at the greatest mass of them? What you need to know about chompers is they're kind of hive-mindish. They move and swarm like ants or bees. So they cluster really bad when they're attacking. So if you're trying to hit one of those cluster balls, you're going to hit a lot of them.
Sure.
Okay. So you can explain what happens. I can tell you how much can Eldritch Blast hit? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Eldritch Blast is a single target.
Single target. Okay. And the pushback?
10 feet.
Okay. So what happens is this pushback is going to affect 2 more chompers, and you can decide on how that happens.
So I think like when he tumbles, stops and takes aim, Theodore is like mid-flight with his what was it, a hammer that you had? A great sword? Great axe. Yeah. Brain fried. So like he's got his huge great axe. Like he slams down, knocks one clean off, and as that one is like flying back, you see that little tennis ball form fly like right behind the thing as it flies back, hits like one that was next to it. It rolls into a crowd, and then the crowd of 3 are what continue rolling off of the balcony.
Okay, awesome. The second Knight of Lamb is kind of a confusing little thing. He is what appears to be a fluffy white unicorn with a rainbow mane and a rainbow tail, a golden horn on his head. What's kind of horrifying is how he's using that horn to buck and throw these little chompers off the side of the balcony. And he just kind of swoops his neck and impales one, and it goes flying off the side. The chompers kind of immediately realize, and you see them kind of shift and stop, and they pull back. And when they start to move forward, they move forward together. And they almost form this wave. If you've ever seen, World War Z, where the zombies are climbing over each other, this is how chompers act. They will just climb over each other and claw and chomp as they move forward. Let's see here. What is your AC, Ben and Nelson? Sorry. Theodore and Chewie. 11. And Ben, what's yours? We'll let Ben get back to us. Part of this wave kind of splits and begins to move towards you, Chewie. And as it does so, you feel the little chomping bites kind of sink into your fur and seep into your fluff on the inside. And you take 3 points of damage from 3 separate chompers nipping at your heels. Ben, what's your AC? 5?
No, sorry, I meant to say 15.
Okay, 15.
But unless we're not applying armor, I did kind of add armor during character creation and realized, hang on, I'm a teddy bear.
It don't matter. AC's AC, it don't matter. We're in a fantasy world. All right, half of this swarm that hits you kind of just falls off of your chest. And kind of, they fall on their back and kind of twitch there like a bug for a second before flipping over and scurrying out. But 2 of them sink in to your legs, your little feet, and deal 2 points of damage. What do you do afterwards, Ben?
As I get hit, there's a blighter. Yeah, it hits me. I'm going to hit it back. And because there's a lot of them, I may activate Action Surge and do it again. Because it feels appropriate. There's a lot of these dudes.
Annoying little shits, aren't they?
Swarm tactics, it happens. You know. Here we go with the first one. Is a 20 in total. If that hits, which it probably will.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, thank you, D12. I do 14 damage.
Holy cow!
On the first swing, that's a max roll, so.
Yeah.
And the second one, I roll a measly 15 in total.
Still hits.
For 13 for 13 damage.
All right. Both of these die in some way, or are defeated in some way. I'll leave it up to you as to how.
Well, it was like he gets nipped because Blighter essentially brings a hockey swing across using the flat of the axe, and essentially just plays golf with them, sending flying from one end of the balcony to the other, where they kind of do that comedy splat against the wall and just.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. The Regal Teddy Bear Knight. You don't know his new name, but you recognize him from a past life. You've been on plenty of missions with him. He's well trusted and all of that. Turns to you and kind of just smiles, and he takes his sword and he kind of winds his hips back and forth like he's readying for a putt. And he looks up to you, looks back down to the chomper on its back, spiraling, in a circle trying to get back to its feet, and just swings, sending it careening into the distance. Nelson, what do you do?
I think it's like Chewie's like, oh, wait. As he's like scurrying away and getting nipped at. And he just waits until like the last one gets really close. He lays down on the step so that he's still attacking at a bit of an angle, and fires off another one of these slingshot shots at point blank range.
Okay.
17 plus 20 altogether.
Hit. If you guys get a 12 or above, you hit.
All right, cool. And he does 7 points of damage, but will knock whoever back 10 feet.
Okay. What happens is this little chomper that you hit isn't defeated, but the pushback sends it tumbling down the stairs, and something strange happens. It seems you found the head of the swarm, because the other chompers dive over the railing after him down the stairs, all of them pumbling in these little fluffy balls rolling down the steps, and they all kind of just slide downwards and end up sprawled at the bottom of the next floor. The two other knights turn back to you, and they say, or sorry, the regal one says, Reggington now, you see, and if you would be so kind as to investigate the lower floors, I'll see that we hold this one.
Just a quiet capital salute. Glad to have helped you, old boy.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Not a problem, no problem. As the axe goes over both shoulders and he just starts walking down. Nice shot, by the way.
I think while they're exchanging niceties, Chewie just stops, waves, hey, and then just unsurreptitiously starts jogging down the steps.
You kind of wade through sprawling little chompers, kind of just, twitching on the floor, like maybe one eye open and kind of just blinking rapidly, and a little paw curled up like but they don't move to attack you or anything like that. You kind of just step over them, bringing you to the next floor. What do you do?
I think he's kicking them off the sides of the the steps. Like he'll la 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 la. That one's moving too much. Kick. La 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 la.
If you were to look over the balcony, you see them just careening over the side like lemmings, and like disappearing into that white fog that encompasses the spire.
Teddy is looking over, and inexplicably one goes sailing past his head into the fog, and he's just like, no. And just kind of kicks one off anyway, and kind of follows it that kind of at a happy pace.
Okay. You continue onwards, and you run into similar scenarios along the way. There are knights, that seem to have things under control in these upper levels. Almost playfully, as you just did, taking care of business. But as you get lower, you realize that things are starting to get quiet again. Eerily quiet. And the spire itself is changing. It's about 3 floors to the bottom you are now. And the steps are broken in. The white marble turned black. Every time you take a little step, your little bare paws pick up this black soot-like substance, cleaning a small spot of marble underneath. It's as if everything's coated in darkness. The stairs to the next level are broken in. They're unusable. What do you do?
I know what I want to do, but I don't have my book, so I don't know what the spell does exactly.
What's the spell?
Spider climb.
I don't think I've used that one before.
It's been a while.
Teddy takes
a duration or a concentration.
Teddy takes a very long look into the dark. The axe kind of hovers, kind of sits in his paws. He kind of nods. That's the way you want to play it, is it? And he takes 2 big steps back. And it becomes very clear what Teddy intends to do in about 5 seconds' time, if not was prevented.
Are you just going to jump to the next level?
Oh, yeah.
So you're just going to jump into this pitch black staircase that's crumbled in on itself. This is awesome.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
For comedic purposes, I think Chewie would be like, okay, and then, what are the words? And he turns around, hey, sir, I got an idea. Oh, man. Sails over him.
All right, Ben.
Athletics.
Yeah, do me a favor and roll pure athletics.
So I'm just making sure I've got this running. Okay, cool. At 17.
Good roll. You sink into the darkness without a sound. Chewie, you just see him kind of engulfed by black dust. And he was there a second and then gone the next. You listen, but you don't hear him fall. You don't hear the clutter or clang of the broken steps falling beneath his weight. You don't hear anything.
I think Chewie starts like chewing on some imaginary bubble gums as he's stepping like one by one back up the steps backwards. He grabs that loose strand and makes sure it's real nice and taut. Rotates his shoulder around. Okay, third. Oh, I had an idea, but no. And then he'll run.
And jump in, okay? What's his athletics roll then?
Oh, I'll roll that now. 15.
Okay. Theodore, you land gracefully at the bottom. Your little lightweight feet kind of titter-tattering down the broken steps, kind of finding them in the darkness and just pressing so and leaping off without a sound, landing at the bottom. Behind you, you hear a slightly less graceful version, as a couple slips on wood, but nonetheless, Chewie greets you at the bottom, unharmed. The only problem is, you're still in complete darkness. You can't even see your own paw in front of your face.
There's a long pause, even as Chewie bounces next to him. And for the first time for a while, Teddy kind of just lets a childish and it's probably unintentionally creepy when he does it because it kind of echoes around them.
I think in response to that, like spinning around in God knows what direction, Chewie spins around with like the slingshot draw and just cries out, "What have you done with the third?"
Stop firing.
Does it light up?
Yeah, sure, like a little sparkly, almost like a fairy type magic, but like broken fairy magic.
So what you see when these little shots fire off is these little specks and frays of vision. You can see that everything is coated in this thick black dust. If you could breathe, it would be choking you. It's so thick. And at the far end, you can see if you continue forward in this darkness, you might find the next staircase. It's up to you guys. I don't know what you're doing. You tell me.
I bought no gear.
I am following the wall. I attack the darkness.
That's what we're about to do. So yeah, I think like using the base of the slingshot, he starts tapping the floor. So you hear as he's leaning against the wall, stepping. Okay.
I have something slightly sturdier in mind. It's the axe kind of goes there. He uses a walking stick and he puts another paw on a wall.
Chewie, suddenly your walking stick doesn't make that of wood on stone. Instead, it kind of, you feel it. It's softer, like it lands on something squishy. And it makes a muffled thud.
Like Chewie will stop and just like maybe try to like scrape it against the floor, see if he's rolling anything around.
Oh, you're rolling something around.
Third. The stuffing, snuggle Snuggledore, Theodore. There's I don't like this.
Dun, dun, dun. That does not feel good, does it?
I hope it's not a knight.
Does either of you have a light source at all?
Do you mind holding this for me? He says, passing a lantern. There's no explanation where it came from.
Does it light up?
Yeah, it's just like a...
As it lights up, the glow illuminates a fallen knight at your feet with its stuffing pulled out.
Oh man, I said I hope it wasn't a knight! Dang it! This is not cool. Not cool at all.
It's just, he kind of clips the lantern to his side, so it's going to kind of swing and flail about, old Dark Souls style.
Okay.
Kind of looks at this knight, takes and kind of crouches, and as grim as it sounds, has a good old investigate.
Okay. It's a fallen teddy bear knight. His stomach has been ripped out, all of its fluff. His soul is no longer inside the body. What seems to kind of be even more eerie is that when you raise your lantern up and look forward, there's a whole line of them leading towards the staircase.
Okay, that's not good.
After a long moment of silence, Teddy just kind of mutters something to him under his breath, and if you're listening, it says, "May your children be happy and always be safe. May they live forever in light, and they laugh forever in happiness." And he just starts walking. It's almost like he's reciting essentially the credo of the order to himself.
Okay. The dust is so thick that while that light gives you a decent amount of vision, it's still just, it's grainy almost, as if you're looking through a night vision camera, like a low quality night vision camera. And as you go towards the steps and look down, please roll me a d6. Ben, sorry. No, just Ben. I'm really bad at clarifying that. 5. Okay. When you peek over the side, you peer into the same similar darkness, but you see this kind of flickering in the distance. And you hear that very familiar giggle that you awoke to. You don't see anything besides a small flicker of light, but God, does that giggle echo in your head.
Teddy's pace increases. Kind of, even for a second, it's like a, and then it's like he's heading for that giggle, but the paws seem to like clench. It's like the giggle makes him even more resolute.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nels or Chewie, what is your character doing? Is he going forward with him?
I think, Chewie, seeing the fallen knights one after the other, he's almost kind of like, oh man, oh man, can Miranda put these back together? Can the and like seeing Theodore, kind of steam forward faster and faster and faster. I think Chewie like bites his little berry lip. Okay. And then he tries to catch up.
Okay. As you descend into the second to last floor, you hear this kind of disembodied voice echo in both of your heads. And it's the old man's voice. And it's almost as if it's not coming through clear. You just kind of hear words, aspect, and through the rift.
I think the old man needs to upgrade to 3G.
I'm sorry, what?
3G. The Miranda, she had it on her phone. Never mind.
You hear the giggle again, Theodore.
Kind of again presses on because that's the only way to go.
Okay.
I'm still trying to put together the puzzle that is hearing aspects.
Roll me a wisdom check. Saving throw, sorry, saving throw.
13.
Okay. And Ben?
6.
Chewie, you're just a couple steps back, and you just blink, it seems like, if teddy bears could blink. And all of a sudden, the lantern's laying on the ground, and Theodore isn't there. Theodore, you feel your body just being lurched forward into the darkness. Your lantern falling at its side, and you feel these sharp but meaty fingers digging into your stuffing.
No. Basically, yeah.
Okay. Roll initiative.
Swing axe until I cannot swing axe anymore. That's my plan.
Okay.
$15.
Oh, okay. You get to go first then. You can feel it grabbing you. It almost feels like an adult's hand, but sharp.
Hackety hack, hackety hack.
Don't
hack.
talk back.
Yeah, pretty much. It's say hello to my little friend.
Okay.
19.
Oh, hit.
For a mighty 6 damage.
Okay. Chewie, you hear this in the darkness just ahead of you. You kind of see this glimmer of a tail flicking back and forth just on the edge of the glow of the lantern. What do you do?
I want to charge the lantern.
Okay.
Right? Like just like the image of the slingshot just sputters away in little twinkly light as he dives towards the lantern. I want to pick it up and throw it at where the tail was.
Okay. Do me a favor and just roll me a d20 as if you were trying to like make a thrown like ranged attack, like with a javelin or a dagger or something like that.
I rolled a 2, and I don't think any amount of bonus would help me. But the question is, not if it hits the thing,
okay,
but does it shatter and have a nice little area of flamey light in the darkness?
Here's the problem with your 2 roll. You reach the lantern. You pick it up with your little bare paw. You throw your hand backwards. And when you go to throw it forward, there's no lantern in your hand. You dropped it behind you.
How'd the lantern disappear too?
You kind of turn around and seeing it laying right behind you on the floor.
Oh, these paws. These paws.
Ben, you feel a second hand grip you, and you can feel this hot breath in your face, and you hear this of a mouth opening, the wet like slap of a tongue moving inside of this mouth. And then Chewie, you can also see this kind of purple light, but it's not. It's more of just a clearing of the fog and dust around moves forward. And Ben, you feel your soul starting to be pulled from this body. Roll me a let me double check. Roll me a wisdom saving throw. I'm sorry.
It's okay. The natural 20 will do.
All right. Okay, so explain to me how you pull yourself back into your own little teddy body spiritually.
Okay. Little teddy body spiritual. As his soul's getting pulled out of him, it's almost like he can look back on old cotton eyes and damaged threads and hatched together limbs that have survived 2 owners and are ready to survive a third. And it's like there's a moment where he's looking at himself and looking at looking at the creature, and he's kind of stuck between the two. And then he hears the giggle. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And he hears it again and again. And the more he hears it, the more it gets. It's not so much that it's not so much his body pulls his soul back, but his soul grabs hold of that his own old damaged eye that was sewn up so many years ago, and just like, we're not done yet. Keep hacking. Pulls itself back in, and the axe just comes up the other way.
All right, that brings us to your turn, so go for it.
Yeah. Take another 19.
Oh, you hit.
Yay. Well, it's holding me, so, you know. Take another 10 damage to the jimmies. And as a free action, a little help, please.
Nails it.
So you said I can see the thing now, right?
No, you're still standing in the darkness with the lantern at your feet.
Because you said I saw like purple light in the hole.
What you could see in front of you was this kind of clearing of the dust as its breath kind of knocked it away. And for just a split second, you saw Theodore's face and this set of like teeth right at his face, right? And his soul started to lift from his body. But the second it snapped back in and he swung that axe, they disappeared back into the darkness. You know they're only about 10 feet in front of you.
And I can't, what the hell? All right. But I don't see it now, right?
No.
And even though they're that close, the lantern is not illuminating them, right?
Well, it's behind you right now.
So I shimmy to the left and let some light on our situation.
Okay. You can kind of see a faint outline of them moving in the dust.
I think with that, like, Chewie's gonna like, he can't really spit on his hands, but he makes the motions like a puh, puh. And then like, draws his hand back with the slingshot.
Mm-hmm.
And in essence, what I was doing with the spit was casting Hex.
Okay.
On the creature.
Okay.
And I'm going to attack him with the slingshot, with the Eldritch Blast.
All right.
11 plus, I think, 5. Yeah, so 16 total.
Okay.
For the hit.
Okay, that's a hit.
All right, and wrong dice. 11 brain. 11 plus 3. 14. Sorry, I had a brain fart.
And still pushes?
I'm not using the repelling portion.
You're not using, okay. And it does, what was the total again?
14 force damage.
Then you feel its arms go slack, and as it does so, you kind of fall to its side as its arm drops. Its hand kind of twitches around your body before you kind of fall to the floor, and then it crumbles into more dust in the floor. It just decomposes so rapidly that it turns into a pile of dust on the floor.
Fine, die then. I was just getting good.
Did I hit it? I hit it, right? I know I hit it. I hit it, didn't I?
You didn't just hit it, you killed it. And I'm distinctly leaving that disappointed tone there when I say that as well.
Yeah, wait, what? That's a good thing, right?
Yes, it is.
And he's still kind of like talking like in like into the darkness that you can't see. It's like, yeah, that's a.
You have the light source, don't you?
You know, this thing. I'll walk over and grab the lantern.
Okay. You notice that while you kind of had this little back and forth, that this kind of sound got louder and louder. It was kind of just at the tinges of your hearing, like the very outer reaches of being able to hear it when you had descended into this level. But now it's almost booming in your ears so quickly you didn't realize it was happening. And now it's just deafening.
Hey, Third! Do you hear that? What do you think that is?
Boom, 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 boom.
It's not just me, right?
That Teddy starts walking towards the sound, but he kind of does this.
Okay. You're descending onto the final level of the spire. This is where the portal is. And it's the portal all knights must take to reach the world of man. This is how they travel back and forth between the spire, how they reach their children, and all of those things. If not for the portal, there would be no knights. The children would stop believing. The souls would stop rising. Life as you know it would cease to exist. And as you descend, you see there's this tear in the world. This darkness is eking out of this rift. And you're not sure where it goes, but it's the only thing you see down here.
Is it a source of light, or is the lantern still the only source of light?
The lantern is still the only source of light. You can't even see the light that should be emanating from the portal that you know should be existing here. The only thing you can clearly discern is that all of this darkness is spilling out from this rift that's been cut into the world of this pocket world.
All right. Chewie's just like nervously nodding, like, as he's walking towards the rift in the world. Mm-hmm. I think I'm not Miranda, but I think I and he'll set the lantern down next to the rift, and he'll like grab by the thread and let his paw slip and kind of just barely push open the separation of fur. Mm-hmm. So where you see just a little bit of stuffing. And as he removes his paw away, there's like an ethereal light coming through, and he raises it into the sky as you see a giant needle appear in his hand. Mm-hmm. And essentially that's his, what is it, the Blade Pact or whatever?
Okay.
And he goes, not Miranda, but maybe this will help. He's going to try to sew the tear shut.
I love that. I love that. Oh my god. Here's what's gonna happen. The needle begins to thread through, the light following it. And as you start to make the first stitch, you hear this. You clever knights. And from behind you, this voice is echoing. You hear this clear clack of like a businessman's shoes against marble. The steps coming closer. And as he steps into the light of the lantern, you see this figure standing in a pinstripe suit. His head is just a shadow. His hands are shadows as well, but long and jagged tips. It reminds you of darkness, but it's not. This is just an aspect of its form. No one's ever actually seen darkness himself. So what you are looking at, what you are about to face, is but an image, an idea of him. Roll initiative.
Nat 20 on the initiative.
Nice. Maybe you shouldn't have wasted that nat 20.
I kind of already know what I'm going to be doing.
15.
Okay. You're gonna go first, Nelson.
All right. Does it look like I'm actually sewing this shut?
Oh, for sure. It looks like it's working.
Okay, so like looking over like the back of his shoulder and stuff, like he sees this aspect of darkness and he shakes his head. Nuh-uh. Mm-mm. We're gonna do this. And he's like jumping and stitching it shut, but as he's doing so, he starts leaving behind a version of himself, and he jumps over, stitches a stitch, flips over that stitch, leaves a second version, and then a third version. And there's 4 images of himself sewing this thing shut as he casts mirror image.
Okay. Here's what's gonna happen. How long does mirror image last?
Give me a second. I'll let you know. Just mirror image lasts for 1 minute.
Okay. So here's what's gonna happen. You can make 4 stitches a turn. It's gonna take 12 to close this rift. Okay? If Ben can survive that long, you will successfully have closed the rift. If Ben can survive that long on his own. So that's 3 turns, correct?
Okay. 3 turns.
All right. So Ben, you see this figure, and as the rift is being sewn shut, one more step behind you, the darkness kind of begins to fall slightly to the ground. This kind of upper level where the aspect's head is kind of clears slightly. What do you do?
Fuck it. Charge.
All right.
You know, it seems like a very simple prospect. I just gotta keep him okay. I'm fine, you know. I'm only charging an aspect of darkness that reminds me of the man in black. Let's go.
You're looking for a 16 per hit, just so you know.
Yay! Oh! So that'll be a natural 20. The teddy bear gods are favoring me today.
It would appear.
So that means I roll nothing else. I roll damage. Yes. Oh, it's been so long since I've rolled a critical. What happens again?
You double it.
I double it. Oh, that's.
You double everything, I believe, even your bonus to attack and like all that stuff like that, or bonus attack damage. I mean.
Yes. And this is why I took great weapons. So 9.
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a Brit? Question mark?
Obviously. No. Let's try and get on the +4. 22 damage.
All right, and you're just swinging your axe.
I am swinging a chain. Yeah, I'm swinging
Okay. The aspect starts to try to like disappear almost, but as that thread seals and you swing your axe, he's kind of confused for a moment as he's stuck in place, almost as if he was trying to teleport into another piece of the darkness. And your axe hits true, cleaving at his body. The suit is ripped and torn, and you can see that nothing is below it besides more shadow, and it's leaking out from the suit now, just kind of pulling down in tendrils at his feet. He looks up at you, and then down to the wound in his pinstripe suit. He smiles. He looks into your eyes. He looks deeper. Make me a charisma saving throw.
Fuck. Charisma. Who needs charisma? Apparently I do. Okay, that gives me a solid 15.
You get this tickle in the back of your head. And out of the corner of your eye, is your little one a boy or a girl?
I'll say girl.
Okay. You see a little brown-headed girl with brilliant blue eyes, chained to one of the podiums. She's crying. She's looking into the darkness but can't see you. You feel compelled to move towards her. You do. Turning your back on the aspect. His eyes turn to Nelson with a great, big, dark smile. It's your turn, Nelson.
I will fix it! I'll fix it! And he's just stitching away.
Okay. Another 4 stitches. Half of it is sealed. More light filters in. Ben, you can make another charisma to break free.
No, 19.
19? The little girl finally raises her head again. It had been hanging. Her eyes open, and it's not the blue that you know you should see, but black. Her lips pull back, their jagged teeth. Her skin almost seems to disappear. It's a small little shadow man, making an illusion of her form. He's giggling and laughing as he's chained to the podium. What do you do?
There's a moment where it's like I keep sort of moving. And, you know, you can almost see the grin behind me growing as it looks at Nelson. And then the axe comes up, 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 backwards.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, double-handed champion. 19.
Yay, hit.
Which counts as another critical.
Oh, does it? Yay, hit.
That one is 21. Yeah, 21.
It cuts into his pant leg, ripping upwards, slicing through the fine material. He looks down, shocked. His eyes had been focused on Chewie. He glances back to you, now realizing you're a true threat. He snarls, one dark lip pulling upwards. It looks like black charred skin, you realize, gums black and glistening. He comes at you, claws raised, hissing. What was you're 15, right?
Yeah. Here we go.
He sinks those claws into your fluff, taking out a bit as he rips them outwards, dealing 10 points of damage.
I'm still standing. I mean, sort of.
Yeah. The little imp behind you, the little imp of a shadow man, comes lurching forward, jumping on your back, chomping at the back of your neck. But you kind of tuck your neck backwards, and all he gets is a bit of ear, doing nothing but annoy you. Nelson. So?
Yeah, again, still like a crazy little bear. He's jumping.
How are you reacting to your partner kind of getting ganged up on behind you, though? What's going through your mind as you're still sewing?
He's just, he'll take up to look and just, grit his little berry teeth. And just still, he's focusing, he's being singular of task, trying to fix this tear. He turns back and he sees Theodore, fighting the good fight, getting jumped, facing down single-handedly an aspect of the darkness, and there's that feeling that he wants to join in, that he wants to help, until like the flowing just ichor of what we're surrounded in is peering and pouring through the tear. And right now there are more important things than helping a friend.
Okay. Ben, how much health are you sitting at?
About 28.
Okay. You only, by the looks of that rift, only need to stay standing one more round. It's looking harder and harder to do so now that there's a smaller shadow man that's joined the fight. What do you do?
As it's on his back and he kind of looks up at the dark shadow, looks at the creature, and he has to make the choice as to which to go for. The choice is clear. He just shouts, "Keep sewing!" and runs full pelt at the darkness.
Okay.
This aspect is just like just both hands go to the top, to the bottom, and it's just...
As you run forward, that little shadow man on your back is kind of, his legs are flapping against your back like a cape. As you run forward, make your attack.
Yeah, I hit again, but no critical, so, we don't need to worry about that. For a grand total of 13 damage.
Okay. The aspect doesn't drop. Not really. But he does fall to his knees as you slice through the other pant leg. He's staring at you in the eye now, kind of hunched over your form as you look up at his towering body. There's dust falling in your little button eyes. And he's breathing. How could one bear? Impossible. And he looks over and he sees that the rift is being closed, and he realizes that's why he's becoming so weak. Because he doesn't have the power of darkness anymore. It's just him. Just what he has left in this form. And he puts all of it in, and he swings wildly at you with a hiss. And hits. His teeth come down first, biting into the fluff at your neck. His claws rake at your little bare legs. And he deals He only deals 20 points of damage.
Yeah, okay, I'm still standing.
The little imp on your back giggles. And you feel its fingers digging into your shoulders. They're digging, they're digging, they're digging. And you feel it again, that tingle in the back of your mind, but it's different this time. It feels powerful. You hear a small girl's voice. Oh, Theodore, I love you. You can take an extra turn.
Action surges, how I love you. Yeah, I think I'm going to be doing that.
Okay.
I'm going to be using my bonus action this turn to activate Second Wind.
Okay.
Because if anything counts as the ability to give me more hit points, that probably does it. And I shall gain 10 hit points back. And then, you know what? No, I'm done with the guy who's biting me. The thing on the back. If the thing on the back kills me, it deserves it. But this guy needs to go down.
Okay.
He wants to give me singular focus. I'll show him singular focus. And I will hit for a 17. And I will roll 13 damage again.
Oh! Tell me how you defeat an aspect of darkness!
Well, again, it's just that everything's tearing in. It's slowly falling to bit. The giggle happens, and it's just... Well, the axe's only got one way to go, and that's this way. So that's the way it's going.
Okay.
And it's more like the dust will probably spill outwards in like a showering arc.
Okay.
All over him.
Mm-hmm. The little shadow imp on your back doesn't giggle anymore. It kind of falls off and backs up slowly, looking to either side, having nowhere to run. Nelson, you're closing the rift. What does it look like as you sew this rift shut? What happens?
I think like for Chewie, it's more like still reliving sort of flashes of his previous life and when he first met Miranda, the young little girl that sewed him together. You know, so he's hearing like the combat in the background, the clashing, the axe, you know, meeting the aspect's teeth meeting his new buddy, and while the fight is going on, he's hearing the clanging of chains, the barking of a dog, you know, the tearing of his own stitches. And with every time he shoves this needle into the thing and draws it, you know, the thread to tighten this rift, to seal it up, he just sees the little girl Miranda putting the needle into him and drawing it close and tightening his own wounds up when he was first born to her. And he does that, you know, periodically over and over. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I can fix it. And with like the last needle, you know, that all 4 copies of him sort of shove through the last bit of rift before drawing the thread taut and sealing it. I think like at that time, it's because it's kind of poetic that it happens at the same time where he just utterly hacks apart this the aspect of darkness as all 4 copies of Chewie sort of turn to see, you know, his friend Theodore and this little impish ink spot of a thing as they all stop and just bite the thread on their giant needles.
As you do so, the little imp disappears. In fact, the whole room illuminates almost blindingly at first. You see the portal at the end of the Great Walk, its cobblestones leading the way to the world of man. The whole spire alights again, the dust disappearing from the marble, blowing away into the wind, into the fog that surrounds you. You see the beautiful garden and waterfall where you stand. The old man's voice kind of carries throughout the whole spire. We've won. You can hear a chorus of cheers in the upper levels. You look towards the portal. You feel drawn. And in a blink, you're in the arms of your children. What is the final thing you see before resting, you weary nights?
All right, I think in that flash,
not dying or anything. You're just, resting.
Yeah. In that flash, it's blinding, and as everything is slowly coming back into focus, you kind of hear the voice of an elderly man. I thought I threw that thing away. Damn it, Miranda, why do you keep bringing that thing back in the house? And then you hear the sound of a young girl. Aww, his stitching came loose. As she's holding him in her hand, pulling that one little stray stitch that always seems to loosen up, pulling it taut and tying it in a nice little knot. There you go. And she just hugs the little thing, turns, looking over her shoulder at her father, and sticks her tongue out.
Your little bare form almost seems to smile, its head resting on the little girl's chest as you go to sleep. Ben, what do you see?
The sun is rising after a long night. Whatever nightmare she'd been having seems to have passed. The little dark-haired girl looks at Theodore, who'd been given to her as some sort of silly present by her dad, and said, when I was young, my dad gave this to me, and now I'm giving it to you. She smiles. She'd been reluctant to accept him at first, but somehow he'd kept the nightmares away, and that was enough. And so as the sun rises, instead of leaving Teddy on the bed like she had done 2 nights ago, she brings him out into the sun.
I didn't expect such an emotionally charged game. I gotta be honest, Nelson, I fucking cried when you were doing the stitching shit. I lost it, dude.
Was it cried laughing or?
No, I had a tear escape my eye and roll down my cheek when you were talking about I'll fix it. I went, oh crap.
Thank goodness I didn't play the other teddy bear idea.
Oh my gosh. What did you guys think?
Oh, that was good. Oh, that was amazing. That was mildly cathartic. I liked that.
Now, I know it's a short length, but again, it's meant for younger ones, so, like the 1.5 hour mark, 2 hour mark. What did you guys think specifically, I want to know, of the kind of ulteriors I took to quote-unquote attacking or killing and yada yada yada?
No, that worked. That worked fine, actually. Yeah. You might want to, I think there's going to be a whole bunch of reskinning of weapons going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because we just took stuff rules as written, but I think to be honest, sewing needles, brilliant. I was like, why didn't I think of that? That's
the genius of it. I don't want to reskin them for the simple fact that I want the kid to go, you know what would be really cool? Sewing needle.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a sewing needle. That's what it is.
Yeah. I actually thought I was playing it a little too silly.
No, I think it was perfect.
No, I think you offset me nicely because I was playing the stray guy.
Yeah,
straight guy, as it were.
Every description, especially from Chelsea, felt like late 70s, early 80s sort of cartoons.
Yeah.
Like the kind of thing maybe Disney or a small studio would have done back then.
I was seeing He-Man or Care Bears.
Care Bears. I hate to admit it, but yeah, kind of. Care Bears got dark sometimes.
Yeah, Care Bears got real dark.
Like, it was scary dark sometimes.
I remember seeing the movie as a kid, and yeah, no, that had some Cthulhu elements in it. So you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I really liked it. I think if you're gonna do it as an adventure, for other people, maybe not, like Ben said, the reskinning of weapons, and you want to leave that available, not dictate that it must be done, but offer suggestions for it. Like, some weapons can be like this, and if you're gonna do like patterning or art or stuff, have different types of imagery to help push that.
Yeah. Now, throughout the adventure, there were sometimes I asked you guys for a roll, and there's sometimes where I just did it. A lot of this stuff is replayable because the tables determined actually what you were encountering on each level. Whether it was darkness or voices, or you see other knights, or you get ambushed, or, all these different things could happen. So, like, that was kind of really cool, I thought. That, like, all these different things could happen, but this was your path down the spire. I thought that was really cool. I liked it a lot.
This was our story.
This is your story. But yeah, I'm going to wrap the broadcast up. I had a really good time. So everybody say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.